Hi, everybody. So I'm really excited to be here. We are going to be talking about the new revival of the Gilmore Girls show. It's called A Year in the Life, and I'm joined by my friend Abby. You want to say hi?
Hi, guys.
And this is a 4-episode series that is on Netflix. And it's each episode is a different season. And so today we are going to be talking about the episode Winter, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have the chat room open if anybody wants to join in the discussion. This will be spoilery, so if you haven't watched the episode, then go watch it and come back and watch the discussion. So anyway, let's start by, Abby, do you want to tell me your sort of history with the show, I guess?
So I am a year ahead in school of Rory's character, and I began watching it when I was about 16. So right around, I think I started around either the end of season 1 or beginning of season 2. And I loved the show as a teenager. As the series came out on DVD, I bought all the DVDs or got them as gifts and things.
Mm-hmm.
And since it ended, every summer I watch it. I watch the entire series through every summer. So I'm like a total fangirl. I know it like the back of my hand. I know the original series really, really well. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I kind of had that experience with Boy Meets World as far as for they were the same age as me. They went to, I started high school when I started high school. They went to college when I started college, that kind of a thing. But I watched the Gilmore Girls, but not like faithfully. I enjoyed it when I did watch it, and I always had roommates who were super into it. And so I guess you could say that that's sort of my experience with the show, but I did enjoy it, and we'll talk a little bit more some of the things that I liked about the show. And so were you nervous about this revival, or mostly excited, or kind of
I was mostly really excited about it because those last, I think it was the last 2 seasons of the original Gilmore Girls, they got rid of Amy Sherman Palladino, the creator.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so a lot of the stuff that happens in those 2 episodes is not necessarily like what I felt like was totally in line with the direction that she was taking it. And so I was really excited to see more episodes from Amy Sherman Palladino, that this really was her baby, and I was excited to see her take it back. And I had absolute faith that she would do good things.
Yeah, she is a really great writer. I think it's her strength and her, sort of her handle on sort of the unique voice of these characters is really, really good. And I didn't know that, and that makes sense because I remember watching the last season and being like, it does feel different.
Yeah.
With the whole Christopher thing and the way it all kind of wrapped up in a way that didn't really feel all that satisfying, even as me, a casual fan.
Yeah. It was, for me, I've made peace with the way that the show ended. Like, it is what it is. I was never super angry about it, I guess, but it just wasn't what we were looking for in the end of the show.
Yeah, if anybody knows anything about disappointing endings to series they love, it is me.
I did not feel about it the way you feel about How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
I did not love it.
You're in mourning for years. Cool. All right. Well, so yeah, as you said, this show is written, created, whatever, by Amy Sherman Palladino, and it stars Lauren Graham and Alexis Bledel, and they were an interesting sort of pair to have because you had a young mother with her, what was a young mother with her teenage daughter now, and and so there wasn't that much age difference between them really, and so it did feel more like a sort of a friendshiping kind of relationship, almost more than a mother-daughter relationship. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they were friends more than they were parent-child, and now as an adult, I'm like, that's not an entirely healthy dynamic, but it made for good TV.
Yeah. It is probably a dynamic though that a lot of people can probably relate to. Yeah. That we have those, certain. I know a friend of mine, her mother literally gave her the divorce papers for their divorce and had her put it underneath her bed. So like there's certain times when the friendship and parenting thing gets super muddled in things. So it's probably not as extreme as it could have been, at least, I guess. But and we do have a comment. It says Sean Chandler says that the show wasn't renewed for an 8th season, and the writers only had a few episodes and a few weeks to come up with a conclusion. Thus, the ending we got.
Yeah, that was like it was just kind of a hasty thrown together.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know. So, how did you feel they captured the feel of the show in this first episode? Did you think it felt like, oh, we're back, or did it feel sort of different?
I got a little bit of that feeling of, oh, we're back, but it is very different. I mean, how long it ends? Like, it's been so long.
How did you think it was different?
For one thing, I felt like the pace of the show was really interesting. Like, it was a lot different than the pacing of a typical episode, as you would expect, since it's 90 minutes instead of 42 or whatever the original length was. That was probably the biggest thing for me, is it was a huge change of pacing. And the dialogue is still super quick, super witty. But the actual pacing of the plot within the episode was strange to me. It just felt different.
Have you watched the whole thing now, or have you just watched this one?
I have not. I've only watched.
Okay, good. Me too. That way we don't know anything about any future episodes, so that's good. I felt like, as somebody who's not super hardcore, I felt like it did capture pretty well. I felt like I was kind of back there in Stars Hollow. I felt like it felt sort of natural. There were some things that felt like, I don't know, like, wow, this is sort of tonally off of the, we're just sort of jumping all around tone-wise, I thought. But, and I guess that happened some in the show, but I feel like in the show there was sort of a more narrative consistency as far as tone.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
In an episode. So, but the dialogue, that's what I wanted to say. Gilmore Girls is perhaps best known for its fast-paced dialogue. How did that hold up for you? I did like the one little joke that they had where Rory says "winded" after they're talking, and Lorelai says, "Haven't done that in a while."
I know.
That was pretty good.
I would actually like to know if that was in the script, or if that came about organically as they were reading the script.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, that's true.
Because it seems like the kind of thing that could have just been an impromptu moment that they decided to keep.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, that was a really, like, that helps you sort of get back in the feel of Gilmore Girls. I felt like that opening sort of dialogue between the two of them, where it almost, sometimes it feels more like the episodes of Gilmore Girls feel almost more like a play to me, the way the dialogue is written, rather than, because it's not realistic. Obviously, like, nobody talks like that, like, nobody has, like, these long diatribes of perfectly planned,
with dialogue. Like 6 different pop culture references in the monologue,
right. Funny. But I don't know, it's just like, that's the character of the show. That's what makes it its own unique thing. So yeah, what did you? I guess did you feel that satisfied with the dialogue?
I absolutely did. Yeah. That I mean, that's why we loved it. Really, like that's what hooks people into that show, and um, it's back, and so
Yeah.
that's the thing that really was like, okay, we're back, we're here.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I don't know. For me, a writer in movies that I feel like definitely borrowed from uh, the Gilmore Girls sort of style is Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno and Young Adult and some other movies. Like she does the same kind of thing. Like her characters, nobody talks like Juno talks, but it works for the style and the feel of the characters and the type of movie it is. You know.
Right, right. And every once in a while you do meet someone who maybe doesn't talk like they do, but talks in a way that surprises you.
Yeah,
Either
that's true.
the way that they pace it or the way that they phrase things or whatever it is. And it gives you that feeling of meeting someone new that is just really funny and interesting.
That's true. Yeah, it's somebody that you almost feel like, oh no, what am I going to say next? I got to think of something really clever because this person's really smart.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, can we start talking about Disney? Because then I can say something really smart.
Yeah, it was comforting to know. I read or heard an interview. They were talking about the pop culture references and how nobody in the cast really knew what most of them were. But Lauren Graham actually, because what they'd do is they'd get the scripts and they'd kind of compare like who understood the most of them. And Lauren Graham actually was kind of the winner in that. She actually knows most of the references that Amy Sherman Palladino includes in the script, or that the writers put in.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it comforted me to know though that like most of them don't know this stuff either.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of do you ever watch the Goldbergs show?
Yeah.
Well,
I love that.
yeah, I love it too. But I was watching a behind the scenes or whatever or interview, and that's where the kids were saying like, we have no idea of these things we're talking about all the time. We've never seen any of these shows. We've never watched any of these movies.
Funny. I wondered that. I'm like, they're talking about this stuff that they've probably never seen before.
Yeah. They're like, what? What's that? Like they had never seen Goonies or, Ferris Bueller's Day Off or whatever. So it's kind of funny. All right. So we find out that this is sort of, like I said, they're sort of tonally kind of all over the place. And we're kind of, so it's a little bit jumbled kind of going over some of these things, but the sort of the more serious part of the episode is we find out that Richard has died, the grandfather of the show.
Yes.
And we know that had to happen, of course, because Ed Herman has passed away. And what did you think of this, the whole funeral scene? Because, yeah, anyway, what did you think of it?
Well, I appreciated it. I think that what they showed of the serious parts of it was enough. I'm glad that they didn't spend a ton of time in the show bemoaning his death. And I'm kind of glad that they fast forwarded us a little bit past it so that, we weren't smack in the middle of their grief. And I thought the whole, honestly, the fight, Lorelai and Emily fight, that was probably the nastiest fight we have ever seen between them.
Yeah.
It was like super brutal.
Did you think they made her too unlikable, Lorelai? I mean, that was really a jerk thing that she did. I mean, come on. I would just find it, even if you were like, I mean, I've never been drunk before, but it seems like to me, even if you were drunk, you could come up with one nice story to tell about your father who just died. Like, that seemed so cold to me. And I don't know. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like it was kind of contrived, that whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because if that scene had happened at the beginning of season 1 of the original series, it would have been more believable.
Yeah.
Because since then, we've seen the way that, like, it was like their whole relationship growth from the show between Lorelai and her dad. It was like all of that growth was gone.
Yeah.
And she couldn't even come up with, like, oh, he made it possible for my daughter to go to Chilton and Yale and, and have this incredible life. You can't say that. Like,
Yeah, you couldn't say, like, I don't know. Like Emily says to her, you couldn't have said, like, he read me a book once. We went to the park, like, whatever, just something. I mean, it just seemed like, boy, she's a horrible person. That's a horrible thing to do. And she expected her mom after that to feel sorry for her and to be like, I, I don't know. I just felt like, boy, I mean, she is just incredibly selfish person. Emily was 100% right. I felt like with her sort of diagnosis of her. Like, she's a very selfish character, don't you think? In this episode?
She is. But historically, she kind of is.
Yeah.
It's not entirely out of line with her character up to this point. And also I think there's an added element of there's an immense amount of pressure she feels from her parents. So being drunk, being really tired, having all these factors against her combined with the pressure of being put on the spot by her mother, I guess I can kind of see how that fits with. I could see her character reacting that way, I guess is what I'm saying. But I agree. It was really an awful, awful moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what it almost felt like to me was that they were trying to force a funny scene there and make it hilarious. Mm-hmm. A hilarious scene that ends in awfulness, ends in sadness, and it felt like they pushed it too far. I mean, and the whole time, like, Lorelai's trying to get these guys to switch places with her, and the guy in the wheelchair is asleep, and she's trying to wake him up.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
You could have used all this time to think of a story. Like,
yeah, or just done. Like, be honest. Like, just say, you know what, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I can't. I don't know. Just say, I can't think of anything right now. I'm drunk or whatever. Like, that would be better than what she did.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bad moment for her and for her and Emily's relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her, Emily, for feeling a grudge on that one for a while. That was just so, like, that would be so hurtful for your daughter, to say after all they had done for her, and there's right. I think she says something like, "You are the one who holds on, takes a grudge and holds on to it for forever." And I think there is a part of Lorelai that still hasn't forgiven her parents for what they did when they found out she was pregnant. And no matter what they've done for her and Rory, for all these things, that she can't deal with that, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of frustrating to me because I feel like they left off at the end of season 7 of the show. I felt like they really left off, like, they didn't have a perfect relationship, but they had an understanding and kind of this mutual respect for each other, I guess, and this understanding of, I don't agree with everything you've done in this relationship, and you don't agree with everything I've done in this relationship, but we're moving forward and we're trying to be a family.
Yeah.
And that kind of all goes out the window in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did. I was surprised. But I don't know. I guess it sort of starts her thinking about her selfishness, at least. And we see that kind of a little bit in the rest of the episode. So maybe they're going to go some places with that and have her show some growth. But I thought we'd talk a little bit about Emily Gilmore as a character, because I think that her character and Kelly Bishop is the standout of the series as a whole, because I think that a character like her would be so easy to write as sort of just like a shrew, a horrible, rich, awful, person. And I think that there's so many movies where it's just automatic. The rich guy is the bad guy. The rich guy is even movies I really like It's a Wonderful Life or something like that, that you're sniveling, awful, judgmental, conservative, awful, rich person. And I feel like she is a character that defies kind of all. She is some of those things, but she defies them as well, because she is, caring, and she is loving, and she's somebody who a lot of people actually judge and think that she's judgmental, when I don't think she actually is all that judgmental. And I don't know, I just think that she's an interesting character, a layered character, and I think you saw that here, where she just was so human, kind of in her response to the death of Richard, but also just her frustrations with her daughter, and her trying to find something to sort of fill that void, and I don't know, just all of it. I thought that she was the most human, best character of this, and the best character in the show, in my opinion.
I agree. Her character has a ton of depth. Yes. And Kelly Bishop is brilliant. Like, I just adore Kelly Bishop in that role. Like, yes. She might have been the person I was most excited to see come back. And I practically cheered the first time I saw her on the screen. I was like, it's Emily. And I agree with you. Like, she could have been Lucille Bluth, and she isn't,
Exactly. That's the example I was thinking of. That she's, I don't know, she has a very deep character, like you say. She has a lot of depth to her. She's somebody that isn't perfect. She's a flawed character, but I feel like she's somebody who really tries. And, I agree completely about Kelly Bishop. Like, I don't know if she was ever nominated for an Emmy, but she should have been. She was excellent.
Oh yeah,
in the role.
A lot of the parts of her that are sort of the, I don't know, the cliche rich people, mean, ungenerous, overly rigid kind of things. Through the course of the show, we really learn a lot about Emily, and these aren't things that are just her being cranky. These are parts of her cultural norm. Like, she was raised to be. And she really is trying to be, I think, a good mother. And pretty much all of the things that Lorelai hates about her are things she's doing because she thinks that's the right thing to do. She thinks that's the best thing for her family, or else. And those are her motivations. And I think that's incredibly relatable.
She's a very self-aware character, I think. Don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, she's much more than Lorelai. Like, she's aware of her flaws. She's aware of her, she's the world that she lives in, and this is it. And she's, she's been forced to stretch a lot more than most characters in most shows, I think, do.
That's true. And she can be mean.
Sure.
She can be mean and judgmental, but it's always very calculated, and she always has a specific outcome in mind. And the outcome she's looking for is always what she thinks is best for Lorelai and for her family.
Yeah, and you had to feel for her. I just thought when she said most people, it's something like most people love talking about, their families and talking about their memories, and she was talking, and yet they could never have that because of that was, you just felt so sorry for her in that moment, that she's got to hear all of these people sort of, all these other women her age talking about, oh, me and my kid did this, or we did this, or we did this, and she can't really share in that, and you felt sorry for her.
Also an element of martyrdom to that.
Sure. That's true.
I mean, I think all know an old person who's that way and maybe doesn't always acknowledge the good things. Because honestly, though, they really do have a lot of good memories together, just with Friday night dinners.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that Lorelai didn't just bring that up.
Right. Like, there are a million little things. And even if you think back to the episodes where where Richards had heart trouble, there are 2 different episodes, one early on and one later.
Yeah.
And in that very first one, she's still pretty, like, they've just started getting back to having a relationship with her parents. And she still is, like, talking to Luke about how he always did what he thought was right for his family and saying all these good things about him.
Mm-hmm.
And he hadn't even died. He was just having heart trouble. And she was able to come up with nice things then.
Right.
And she can't come up with them now. That just seemed weird.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it did. It seemed hard to believe. But yeah, it was an emotional scene for sure. So what did you think of Rory in this episode? So she has the boyfriend named Paul, this guy is such an idiot. I mean, come on. This guy is going to be the stupidest.
The only thing I hate about Paul is why was she ever with him? Like,
why was she ever with him? And come on, this guy has got to be so clueless.
He's a dork. Yeah. He's such a dork. And I don't know. I think they intended that whole thing to be kind of lighthearted. But it's weird that in this episode she doesn't break up with him.
Like, yeah, well, and she has this no strings attached, whatever happens in Vegas, even though it's London, thing with Logan. What do you think of that?
That was weird. I mean,
yeah, it was weird.
They're in their 30s. Like, come on, grow the hell up, people.
Yeah.
You're not 18 anymore. This isn't cute. But it's not I don't know.
Well, that's what's kind of my fault. My flaw is I did feel like Rory seemed exactly the same.
Yeah, she hasn't changed a whole lot. I don't know. She's older.
She's older. Yeah, she seemed exactly the same. And even, like, I felt like, this is one of my other questions coming up, was just that, like, I feel like she should have accomplished more. She has an Ivy League education. She is very talented, evidently. And yet she's had, like, one article in the New Yorker, and she's, like, being a ghostwriter on a book. Like, she's 32 years old. I feel like she should have done a little bit more. No?
I actually like that she hasn't done more, because it kind of felt like in the original series, she's kind of this wonderkind, you know?
Mm.
And she, like, I appreciated that she didn't get the fellowship she wanted when she graduated from Yale. And because in reality, you probably know some people with an Ivy League education, and they probably haven't won the Nobel Prize. Like, they're just people.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know,
yeah.
At 30, I mean, writing is a really tough. Writing and journalism, those are really tough careers to break into. Like, I really wouldn't buy it if she had been, like, if she were famous or writing a regular column for some huge paper or something.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. I mean, now it'd probably be more likely that she would be some kind of, like, some kind of blogger of some kind, or something, like work for the Huffington Post or something like that.
Yeah, or even have a job with a smaller news market kind of newspaper.
Yeah,
or television, whatever.
Because newspapers are kind of on the outs, and so,
or but they use the internet a lot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like. I thought Rory was fine. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing her back with Lorelai probably the most, and I liked how she was kind of like, "Why did you say that?" Like, she even like, "Why did you do that?"
It's funny how she was always kind of the level-headed one.
Yeah. But I hope that they don't spend a lot of time on this Paul thing. I really do. I hope that's not a big plot thing, because that just seemed like, oh no, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think it was fine as a funny little, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but yeah, if it turns into something major, then no. That's
right.
dumb.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, I just have two other questions. So we get this weird, and this is the part that felt kind of out of place. We get this weird storyline with Luke and Lorelai going to see Paris at a fertility clinic that she runs. That was just like, this seemed like all of a sudden this was very comedic compared to the funeral stuff, and so that's the part of it that felt a little jarring. I liked seeing Paris. I thought she was fun, and I
love Paris. She's
yeah. She was good. But I don't know. What do you think of all of that?
That was weird.
It was weird.
The whole surrogacy thing just kind of came out of left field. I did not see that one coming.
Well, and like, what did Luke think when he was like, did she like tell him they were going somewhere else? Or, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, gets there and he's like, what is going on? Why are my hair?
Yeah, that was...
She like drug him there or something?
I do think it is kind of a continuation of like her. When she was with Luke, she kind of always felt like he was having to give something up to be with her. And she's not wrong. You have to give stuff up to be in a relationship with someone. You know, everybody does. Whether it's picking the movie you want or, you know, getting to drive or whatever. Like, you give stuff up. That's part of being in a relationship. But she doesn't seem to get that. And she has this weird guilt about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think where that's coming, where the whole surrogacy thing is coming from.
Well, and Emily stoked it.
But
she said that about, you know, Luke, about Lorelai being selfish about Luke.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But Luke is like seriously the nicest guy ever. Like,
he is.
He's so nice.
He's so tolerant.
Yeah. Like, he's like a dream guy, let's be honest.
No kidding. He's the one. Why?
Yeah.
I kind of find it annoying that they're not married.
I kind of do too.
Like, I get why, because that was messy, and I could see not really wanting to go down that path and just keep it simpler, but it still bugs me a little bit. Like, just marry him.
Well, it's kind of that feels like a very sort of 90s plot point to me of like, let's not get married. Let's not be, I don't know. Like, I feel like actually now they would have gotten, like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I feel like if it was an original story now, they would get married, which seems maybe strange, but yeah. But I feel like that was a very 90s thing to be like, I'm not.
I agree. And even if you just go down to the justice of the peace and get married. Like, you're living together, you're living the married life, just get married.
That's how I kind of felt in the before. There's this trilogy called the Before movies. There's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. Okay. And in that series, each it's about a couple, and every 7 years you get a new sort of update in this fictional couple's life. Okay. Anyway, and in this last one, we get to see them as a couple, but of course they didn't get married because she's a feminist and she doesn't want to be tied down by convention or whatever. And you're just like, oh, jeez, come on.
That's so obnoxious.
You're making a commitment. It's not like it would be any harder, like if they broke up, you know. But
right. When you're in a relationship like that for so long,
yeah,
it's not going to change anything really.
Mm-hmm. So I think that especially with the town kind of as nosy and all of that as Stars Hollow is, I think that they would have gotten married. Just to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But. Oh, well. They did seem to have a pretty fun relationship. I liked seeing them together. He's so supportive. He's so nice. Because I always liked Christopher, actually. I was one of the weird ones that I liked Christopher too. I thought he was nice, but
I liked Christopher, but I didn't like Lorelai with Christopher.
Yeah,
she was dumb. Anytime Christopher came around, it's like her brains fell out of her head.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, Luke, he's just so easygoing and so nice. Probably maybe did more to his default. So he's at this fertility clinic, and he's just like, "What on earth? Who is this person?"
Funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
And then he's like the nicest guy up against Paris, who's like insanely brash and crude and in your face.
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised that the actor who played Luke didn't, I don't know, go on to do more things.
I'm surprised that there aren't more Gilmore Girls actors and actresses that have gone on to more.
Yeah, I mean, really, even Alexis Bledel hasn't really. I mean, she, as much as I thought she would, I think she would have made a great Bella in Twilight. I know it might be weird casting, but if you look at the movie Tuck Everlasting, did you ever see that?
Mm-hmm.
Where she's just so like beautiful and ethereal, and she's not sort of this fast talking Rory character. I think that if she'd taken that to Bella, then that would have actually been a big improvement over what we ended up getting.
You're probably right.
But anyway, yeah, it's true. I mean, Lauren Graham, she went on to do Parenthood, was her big, I think, other thing that she did that was successful. Is a very similar role.
Yeah, it was kind of a similar role. She was less like hip in that show, I guess, or something.
Yeah, I didn't watch that much of it, but the few I saw,
it was a show with a much more serious tone than Gilmore Girls. So it was kind of a different role, but yeah, essentially, I mean, she's playing the single mom.
Yeah, with the sort of rebellious teen. Yeah, and yeah, I guess it's Scott Patterson is his name, who plays Luke.
Yeah.
And yeah, Alexis has done a few little things. She was on Mad Men.
Is she?
For a couple seasons she was on that, and a few other. She's had a few movies here and there, but I don't know.
It seems like.
What's that?
Seems like she's done some indies, like 500 Days of Summer, and was she in that one?
No, she wasn't in that, but you're right. She has done. I'm trying to think of what it is. There is a big indie, I think, that she was in, but I can't think of it all of a sudden.
The name?
She was in The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Oh, yeah.
I can't forget about that. Anyway, yeah, let's see. Yeah, there's not anything. Anyway, I guess the biggest breakout star of Gilmore Girls is definitely Melissa McCarthy. You can't really...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can't really credit... I don't know if you can really credit Gilmore Girls with it, but she's certainly the most famous person on the show. And she's mentioned here, but we don't see her yet. But we are going to see her.
Yes. I'm sad, though, because I think she's only supposed to be in one episode.
Yeah, I guess they got her for one day, I was reading.
Oh, my goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah. So they were like, we're going to use you as much as we could. Yeah, I mean, I love Suki in the original show. I think she's great. And Melissa McCarthy is just so good at dialogue. So she was just perfect for this part. Yeah,
Suki is phenomenal. She is one of my favorites. She's just cute and funny and goofy.
I think it'd actually be really good for her career, actually, to be even if it's just one episode, because the people that were still sort of bitter about Ghostbusters can kind of hopefully move on.
Yeah.
All right. So I just have one. My last question is just, were there any other cameos that stood out to you and that you liked?
I'm trying to think of what the other ones were.
Because we saw, I forget his name, the one who was at dinner with them. What's his name? We saw Lane real quickly at the grocery store.
Yeah.
There was a.
I was excited that we got to see Hep Alien again. That the whole band played together and everything.
Oh yeah, we saw Michael at the inn. Mikkel, the
Michelle?
yeah, sorry, Michelle. Yeah, at the
Oh,
inn.
that was an interesting thing because he's finally out, I guess, because he talks
Oh,
about his husband. And in the early shows, he talks about like wanting to get the ladies and stuff. And
oh,
now
really? Interesting.
apparently, yeah, that changed. I guess he just wasn't out. I don't know. But now he's gay, and he didn't used to be.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I actually think I would
Um,
have preferred they left him straight though, because he's kind of a cliche gay guy in a lot of ways.
yeah.
And there are straight men who act that way.
Yeah, you're right. That would have made him sort of more unique, a little bit more interesting. That's true. That's a good point. That does feel very 90s. That kind of gay character is very 90s, I think. The other one, the one I was thinking about for dinner was Kirk.
Oh, Kirk. That was funny.
Yeah.
I was glad that they had Kirk back and he and Lulu have the pig because the town was trying to keep them from having a baby.
Yeah, that was good. All right. I was trying to think if there's anybody else.
We saw Miss Patty.
Mm.
Oh, do you want something interesting I read is, the maid, Bertha?
Yeah. What do you think of that?
Well, it's exciting that Emily found one she'll keep. Like, she's had her for a while, apparently.
Yeah, that
But
was
that was
cute.
the same actress that plays Gypsy. Gypsy is like the mechanic.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's the same actress. I read that later. I didn't even realize that when she was on the screen.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, that was funny. I like the way that uh that they had that story where it was like, well, they needed a place to live and so I let them live here. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's almost like Emily's like just succumbed to having to live with this maid and her
Yeah,
and her handy
because
husband. Like,
she could
I
talk.
can't talk about it, so how can I fire her?
Yeah. That was it. That was all my questions. Do you have any other parts you want to talk about?
Um,
This one, does it leave you excited for episode 2? And do you feel tantalized, I guess?
yeah, I'm excited for the next one. I did feel like the plot was a little all over the place, but I also kind of feel like they had a lot of ground to cover in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the show wasn't just about Lorelai or just about Rory. It was really about both of them and kind of this whole family and community, and we kind of had to check in with all of those people.
Right.
So it felt a little scattered. I was a little bummed that it wasn't more like compelling as far as the story. But all in all, I think it was fun. I enjoyed it, and it was exciting to see. Exciting to see Lorelai and Rory together again, and back to their rapid fire dialogue. So.
Yeah, that was my favorite part, is hearing that dialogue again. That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I thought it was overall entertaining. So
I agree. Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Abby_kid. And my blog that I haven't updated in about 1 million years is jeremyandabbyadopt.wordpress.com.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you very much. You can find me at Smiling LDS Girl on social media and at Rachel's Reviews. And yeah, if you put your comments about this first episode, then we would love to hear. We'll be checking up on the comments, and we'll talk about next week. We'll talk about the episode Spring, and that should be really fun.
I'm excited to watch it.
So, me too. All right. Let's see.